everyone, it's Shel from Paper Rock TO Studio, and today I'm sharing with you more witches for the Inktober Drawing Everyday Challenge using the 31 Witches Stew prompts. 31 witches. So today's prompt for day 14, well, day 14's prompt, not today, was to do an athlete witch. And I know there's going to be a lot of, track stars and basketball players and I don't know what all kinds of athletes people might want to draw. But I wanted to draw someone who is working out and trying to get fit because that appeals more to me than I don't even watch sports except for a little bit of soccer with my boys. In the house. They like soccer and play soccer, and I'll go watch them play soccer, but yeah, I'm not an athlete. So I wanted to be true to myself. Yeah, that's what I wanted. So I decided to draw a witch in, workout clothes, and she's working out, but she has her wand. And instead of lifting the stuff with her hands, which is the actual working out, she's working out her magic by lifting the hand weights with her magic instead, which totally appeals to me. Can't stand lifting stuff. Why would you go lift stuff that doesn't need to be lifted? There's enough things in the world that need to be lifted. You gotta lift your groceries and stuff. Why would you go lift random stuff? Anyway, we're not gonna get on my high horse and rant about stuff that I hate. So I drew this in pencil with my mechanical drafting pencil with a 2B lead inside. And then I did some inking with my Pit Artist pens. These are the ones with indie ink inside, so they're permanent when dry, and I can choose to colorize this with whatever I want, whatever type of medium I want, which I think in this case I'm going to be using some Spectrum Noir alcohol markers again. So I did, so that you knew what was going on in the picture, in case you couldn't tell by her clothes or whatever, I drew in the little hand weights and a kettlebell weight and some water, because you should always have water if you're going to work out. Or if you're just going to even walk or anything, you should always have water. Then I got out my charts looking for colors and picked my colors. 3 colors for skin. I think in most cases I picked 3 colors and blended them together. The paper that I'm using is mixed media paper, so it's not as smooth as a marker paper. So it does absorb some of the ink into it. So I decided to just, rather than color all the skin tone, everything in one color, and then go over and do the shadows in another color, and then do the shadows again, the whole thing, I'm doing one section at a time. So one arm, then one neck, then another arm, then the tummy, then the legs, and then the face, using kind of a mid-tone skin. Not super light. I didn't pick a super light one. I picked kind of a mid-tone. Still Caucasian. Probably should be doing some witches of other nationalities, other skin tones. What they say about art is that it tends to be really just a self-portrait, even if it's even if it's abstract or something. It's what you like. It's an expression of you, and so I don't really think about doing other skin tones just because my skin is white or Caucasian or whatever you want to call it. So it's not that I'm being that I'm trying to exclude that or anything. It's just my skin is white. That's just what I'm used to coloring. My skin is actually pretty pinkish. I gave her a fluorescent water bottle. I have a fluorescent water bottle, so I thought it was appropriate. I gave her pink hair. I have purple hair, but I thought pink was cute, so I used 3 different colors of pink. These are the, I don't know if I said these are the Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. I don't have any Copics. I have just these, but I have, I don't know, a lot of them. So, need to use those. Give her a little inspirational saying there. Work it, witch! Then for the background, I just did not feel like doing something that was going to take me time, like, you know, use the alcohol markers to fill in the background, but I didn't like it white either, so I just grabbed a pan of my pan pastels and used those to fill in the background, just because it bothered me that it was white. So that's day 14, the athlete witch. She's not very athletic. She's not stick thin or anything. She's just normal. Normal girl. Day 15. What did we have? I forget. Oh yeah, the harpy. Is a harpy a witch? I thought a harpy was a monster. I don't know. Doesn't matter. A harpy is a mythological creature that is half bird and half woman. Which part is the bird? Which part is the woman? That's the question. Nobody really knows. I don't think anyone's actually seen one. But they're generally depicted as being pretty vicious. But I didn't want to make a mean one. You know, I don't really make mean or gross things. So, yeah, I decided to just make her normal, only half human, half bird. At first I was going to make a completely human face, but then I ended up putting a beak on it. So, and she has claws on her hands and feet and wings. So maybe more bird than human. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. So of course this is drawn with my mechanical pencil, drafting pencil. And it has to be lead. I know I've said that 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 times again so that you know what my preference is and that's something you might want to try. And then I used my Pet Artist illustration pens to do the inking. And I started out this time I have been kind of in the mood to start out with the brush pen, which makes very fat lines at first on the outer edges, but this time I think I used the large and did all the lines with it except for the very intricate ones like the eyes and the claws. In fact, I think I forgot to do them, and then I did the erasing and then had to go back and do them, but that was good because I had made kind of a pencil mess anyway, so it was nice to have them completely gone and I could start over. Also, I made her sitting in a nest, and it's just a very free-form, scratchy bunch of lines in different different widths to kind of make the idea that she's sitting in a nest. I think harpies would make nests. I'm not sure. In the fantasy books that I read, they're portrayed as kind of smelly. Like they smell bad and they're bad tempered and they get a bad rap, you know. They might not be that mean or that nasty or smelly. They might not be dirty birds. You don't know. So then I did use the brush pen around the outer edge. I like the way that looks. I've been doing that quite a bit in these illustrations. And then I went back in, probably with a medium. Sorry, I'm tired. And maybe the fat pen again, I'm not sure. And made varying lines in the feathers because it looks so much more dimensional if you have fat and thin lines. I decided that she would probably be wearing some type of a totem necklace, so I made a necklace with a claw and a feather on it. It's kind of hard to tell what those are because they're so tiny. And then I also put some bracers on her wrists. If she's fighting in the air, it's a good possibility that she would want to protect her claws, protect, like if she has to fight against another Harpy, who has claws, she would want to protect her forearms. And so I thought some leather bracers would be a good idea. And, she's wearing a dress, so not very protected. Maybe I should have put her in leather armor or something, but I just didn't feel like drawing all that. So I'm using Inktense pencils to do the colorization. These pencils are a water soluble pencil. There's a lot of watercolor pencils out there that have a water soluble lead. These are unique in that once they're dry, they're permanent. That's why they're called Inktense. Apparently, they become permanent ink once you've wet it and let it dry. So they're a little bit different than your average watercolor pencil, but they are really good for mixed media. That's why I have them. I'm using them for the illustrations because that's what I have. I don't have any regular watercolor pencils. So I also put feathers next to her face, kind of as part of her hair, to continue that avian look. And wasn't sure, should the beak be orange? What color should the beak be? What kind of bird is she? I tried to make brownish yellowish feathers like a hawk, and the beak appears to be a hooked beak like a predatory bird would have, which I would think a harpy, being a monster, would have a predatory type beak and claws and things. So I don't know. It's just my imagination. So then to finish it up, I used my white Posca pen, that's an acrylic paint pen, to add just some lines here and there to add maybe some highlights, more detail, and then I was done. I do love that white Posca pen a lot. I use it a lot. I guess I wrote at the bottom that it was day 15 Harpy so that I would remember. I did write all the prompts onto the pages already in pencil, so I didn't have to keep going back and looking at the sheet, but I still keep looking at the sheet. And also just to make sure that I had enough pages to do all of them. And I actually have a few extra pages at the end of the book, so I don't know what I'm going to use it for. Maybe you guys could leave me a suggestion of what I should draw in the last few pages. I think there's, what is there? How many is there left? 1, 2, 3, potential of 4 pages left. If you guys have suggestions of things I should finish my book up with. I don't know. Had about enough of the witches. But maybe you guys have some suggestions of other witches I could make or something, since it is a witchy book. So the next prompt for day 16 was a doll or mannequin witch. And I decided to make a primitive doll. I had one, I had a Raggedy Ann and a Raggedy Andy that was homemade when I was a child. And I was kind of going for that look, a stuffed doll with hand stitching. And then I stitched on a wand and a hat to make her look witchy because it was supposed to be a witch. Otherwise it just would have been a primitive doll. Buttons for eyes, stitched mouth, stitched nose, that type of a doll. And I think it's cute. I loved my little Raggedy Ann and Andy that were homemade when I was I carried them around everywhere. I don't know what happened to them. I'm guessing my mom must still have them maybe, or maybe, they were given away at some point, but they were treasures to me when I was a child. And I had some doll, well, not doll, but pretend furniture, like a little cabinet that was supposed to be a kitchen, and these were made out of wood, not plastic like they are these days. And I'm not sure where they came from. I think someone gave them to my mom. My mom was a teacher, so perhaps they were given to us. But anyway, I had them under the lilac bushes outside, and so I would play with my Raggedy Ann and Andy with my little doll cradle and my dolls and my little kitchen out underneath the lilac bushes when I was a child, and it was like a little cave under there because the bushes were grown and they really did make an area underneath. So I had a lot of fun with that. This doll reminds me of that. So for colorization, I decided to do watercolor, and I didn't want like crazy bright colors because I was thinking of, the kind of cavey, dirty under the lilacs area. So I'm using this olive green on the background and then brown on the bottom, which, dirt and leaves and whatever that kids like. The only thing I didn't like was sometimes there were spiders, which not a fan of spiders. But besides that, it was a great little place to hang out, and I'd have friends over and we'd play under there with our little babies. So then I'm making the fabric of the doll kind of a homespun cotton fabric. I didn't go for the whole burlap or anything like that, which a real primitive doll would be made out of, perhaps a woven material, but I didn't go for that. I just went for like maybe a muslin cotton type material. I don't know. And then the witchy Halloween colors being orange and black, I decided to give her orange and black stripy socks, and her little skirt is orange. I didn't put a top on her because I wanted the heart to show. The stitched heart. It should show, so I didn't want to put a top on her. So she's one of those dolls that has lost her clothing. We all have seen them. The dolls rarely keep their clothing, to be honest. They lose it quite quickly because it's fun as a little kid to take clothes on and off. So all my Barbies were naked. That's just how it was. So I'm just adding a little bit of shading and extra layers in with the second layer of watercolor, and then I'm pretty much done with it. I think I did use the white Posca pen. Probably. We'll find out if I did or didn't. Oh yes, I gave it a good dry, and then I used the white Posca pen for some additional detailing and highlights. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you're enjoying the witches as they come through my video feed, and that some of you are playing along. If you did enjoy it, please leave me a comment and a thumbs up. Subscribe, and if you are subscribed and you haven't turned on your notifications, I would recommend you do it. And of course, share. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.